Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Williamsburg City Council meeting of February 5th. Ms. McKay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Ms. Ramsey. Here. Mayor Pons.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Here.
Ms. Kernshire. Here.
All right, takes us to item 3, items for City Council meeting. Mr. Trivett?
Yes, thank
Preview.
you, Mayor. At Thursday's meeting, we've got sort of a busy agenda. The first item is a matter of special privilege, the presentation of Excellence in Service Award to Herb Williams. Then we have a couple of public hearings. The first is to discuss the possibility of Bruton Parish taking utility lines under Palace Street for a new HVAC system. And then the next one is a public hearing regarding the rezoning of a large piece of property on Penniman Road. Monthly operating reports, I think it's going to be HR this month. And then under new business, we have a whole host of bid decisions to make. The first has to do with field work for phases 2 and 3 of Ironbound Road. Next is a Port Ann outfall stabilization and stream restoration project with the Port Ann HOA. Next is replacing a large water line the entire length of Capitol Landing Road where we're doing the road work project. And then also is approving a contract to thermoplastically replace all of the existing street markings. So that'll be a big improvement. A knuckle boom truck acquisition for Public Works. And then we have an ordinance that would allow for not-for-profits proposing affordable housing to have their building permit fees waived. And then the last item on the agenda is to consider appointments to boards and commissions. We're going to correct a couple of appointments and their terms that were made in error last month. So, and then, of course, we'll end the meeting with closed session.
Okay.
I also wanted to note, Mayor, that we have been working on the police station project, and as you all know, thinking about how we could do a public meeting with a venue to talk about the alternatives of the design and what it would look like if we changed locations. We have picked a date and location. We're going to do that meeting at the fire station on February the 22nd from 4 to 6, and we just made that decision today and made sure all the parties that needed to be there could. So we'll start publicizing that and putting our plan together for how the meeting is going to look, and looking forward to share what we have with the public.
Good. Well, I appreciate you putting together that meeting. I know we have a few people in the community that want to be a little bit more involved in the conversation, so that's a good opportunity for folks to show up and listen and speak. Okay, it takes us now to our public comment period, which is an opportunity for anybody to come forward and speak. Address the council. Yep. Welcome, sir. If you just state your name and address for the record and try to keep it about 5 minutes.
Stuart Hughes, 103 Williamsburg Avenue, Williamsburg, Virginia. Wasn't planning on speaking, but I figured it was an opportunity to express my baffledness on this project on Penniman Road, which y'all are looking at without a true traffic study, with all the other components that flow into Page Street and Penniman, from the sports complex that has grown exponentially from 50 to 80 million and everything going on with that, how it plays in with the development over here behind the post office, and how all the traffic flows, all the traffic studies that are being set forth are done by the actual builders or developers, which are all slanted to there, but not to the overall general public that call Williamsburg home. It's very difficult nowadays even to go across town. Can't go through the Parkway, the tunnel's blocked. Francis, you've got Nassau Street becoming the new entryway to city of Williamsburg, and then throw in a golf cart community. You're trying to bring people across the country into this area, and that's a opportunity for little collisions from here to there. But it's all just boiling down to the city needs to take a pause, do a general overview of all the possible projects and how the traffic flows would fit within our community. It's not doing anything now. It's Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, from one side to the other, bumper to bumper. Monticello Avenue, look from Richmond Road all the way to James City County, it's bumper to bumper. And that's now. With all those other projects coming in, where is it going to go? Do you want call Williamsburg a gridlock town. That's what it's turning into be. But so much for not saying much today. Thank you.
Sir, appreciate you coming forward. Would anybody else like to come forward? Welcome in.
Sabrina Fairbanks, 119 Berkeley Lane, Walnut Hills. Good afternoon,
Afternoon.
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. I wanted to say that I hope when you consider each new large and small development, and there are many coming before you, that you'll consider the financial consequences and the cumulative impact on our schools, our roads, as Stuart talked about, our first responders, our water, and our environment. Because the college has such a large amount of property in our city, they do not pay property taxes, say with the state, and because these proposed developments are only going to generate a fraction, probably, of the revenue from property taxes that they're going to generate less revenue than they're going to cost the taxpayers. So I'm worried that paying for all these additional services for these new residents will just ultimately be on the shoulder of the taxpayers. I hope you will consider that, or ask the questions, if the city really needs more rental properties. I reviewed a 2018 independent study done by the college, and in that study, which I believe was submitted to City Council, that we already had in 2018 50%, if not more, rentals in the city of Williamsburg. And the goal back then, as I recall, was we wanted more homeowner-occupied people. And in that study, it also said that William and Mary had insufficient housing for their students. So I think it goes without saying that they have insufficient housing for their students. It's very kind of deceptive with the community because we see building going on campus, but they have 5,000 beds now, and in 10 years, they're going to have 5,000 beds. So they're not adding any beds despite all the construction. So I think the question I hope you will consider is, does the city need more rental properties rather than does College of William and Mary need more rentals? I hope that you'll consider each new large and small development in terms of the quality of life, which the full-time tax-paying residents, who are your constituents, and tourists expect in a historical treasure like our Williamsburg. And really just think, if you could think about how are we going to maintain our small town charm if we're not small. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward? Hello there.
Ruth Kaiser, hello, 609 Richmond Road. What was just said, I think, is weighing on the minds of many of us who have lived here. I've been here 40 years. I've seen, this makes me sound old, doesn't it? I've seen a lot of changes in town. I remember driving out Richmond Road, and the left side of the road there wasn't much there. It was a lot of greenery. Going out Monticello, it was a tea stop, and there was huge fields out there, which we now know as Newtown. I think we, as human beings, tend to rage against the machine quietly to ourselves. Hello, how are you? And then, we adapt. It's like, oh, I remember how it used to be. We kind of swallow it, and then we acclimate to it, and we move on with our lives. I think what Ms. Fairbanks said is the reason I came forward. I don't want to live in an urban area. I do not want to see this town that we all cherish become so big and so built that we've lost the essence of why people want to come here. I have relatives in other parts of the country who say, boy, we just love Williamsburg. We love coming to Williamsburg. That's something that you're going to lose whether you build a sports complex, whether you build a boutique hotel, whether you put in a traffic circle. All of those elements are built over the essence and the character of this town. It's not enough to say, if you really want to see Williamsburg, go, down Duke of Gloucester Street, and then, oh, go, by the way, you can go to the outlets, or you can go to a really nice restaurant. That's not it. It's bigger than all of that. Has anybody been to Old Salem in North Carolina? Anybody been there? Anybody been there? It's an old town like Colonial Williamsburg, and it is a small little patch nestled inside of a big city. And it's so uncomfortable to be there, you can no longer appreciate the essence of this old colonial town. I went once, I never want to go back. I was happy to come home. But all these huge projects, I'm feeling threatened. And I don't like that feeling, and I certainly don't want to acclimate to that. I want Williamsburg to be the reason we all came here, and I think what we owe each other is to keep that vision and not lose it in spite of pressures from developers, people who want to build unit dwellings who are coming from Arizona or wherever they come from. The responsibility to keep Williamsburg, the town that called us all here, belongs to all of us, but mostly, you're the ones who make these final decisions, and if we keep quiet, you're going to think we're okay with it, and we're not.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
David Cranville, pleasure to see all five of you, and thank you for serving. It's a difficult, challenging, time-consuming task. 201 Harrison Avenue. I wasn't going to speak either, but the last two speakers, I think, are representing an undercurrent that is very prevalent in the city. When I was at the neighborhood council, I didn't get to speak, primarily according to my neighbor, because there was only 30 seconds left and we were going to eat up the whole 10-minute break. But I was talking about information and participation in specifically current projects. Now, I've talked to three of you directly, and looking forward to speaking with Doug and Barb. I also wrote all of you on the first topic in September, and we met. And Doug, you said some very strong things about how to control growth and what had happened in the past. Simply stated, I'm not interested in having more short-term rentals relative to increases in people who are going to live here 5 or more years, either renting or owning a residence. So when you look at the new proposals coming forward, if the ratio of longer-term rentals is not much higher, maybe almost double of short-term rentals, I'm totally against it for all the reasons just said. It's just going to create cost to police, fire, congestion, and everything else. So that's the first point. The second point is, I've got involved with the mayor and then the owner of the bank that's been sold many times downtown on the Duke of Gloucester's about 2 or 3 years after I got here, and I've been involved ever since then. I count on city council meetings for information. I can understand there's all these subgroups, but if it doesn't come up before and approved in the end by city council, it shouldn't happen, and it can't, in my opinion, because it wasn't legally voted on by the full city council in an open discussion. So I hope as we go forward that we will figure out so-called meetings that discussions were had, of which, if there's not a record, actually they don't count at all, that we will have you discussing as a whole these major issues, so people can speak and talk and we have feedback. I just strongly urge that city council meetings be the decision-making process for spending major changes and major amounts of money. And that's how it's always been up until, in my opinion, recently, where a lot of things have been decided and have never been discussed openly with the whole city council. That, for me, is very depressing. And with the group I've spoken to, which are former mayors and former city council people and people who have won very prestigious awards, it's very worrisome as to a direction we're sliding in. And I know Pat, for sure, was very concerned about information and discussion, and I assume all of you are. Caleb is too, and each of you are, and Stacy and you, Doug. So let's really work on having council discussions, meetings, and your approval where all of us can hear it openly in advance and share our thoughts, and then you decide, and then that's it. It's that simple. But that's the process that I think has sort of been deteriorating over the last couple of years. Okay. I'm very optimistic we can turn this around, by the way. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come forward? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and move forward to background presentations. And we have 5 of them today. Every year, when we begin the budget process, we have the opportunity for outside agencies to come in and give a presentation and make their request for funding. And so today begins, I know staff is already working on the budget, but today begins some of that process of the budget process. So first we have a presentation from the Williamsburg Arts Commission. We have Mr. Tom Phillips. So we'll welcome you up, and if you could take about 10 minutes, that'd be great, or less.
Thank you. All right, good. Up and down. It's always good to learn how to make the machines work. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm glad to be here today to make a report on the work that the Commission has done. There are a couple with us. Mr. Leek and Robin Phillips are here joining me, and we'll make these recommendations to you. We make 28 recommendations for arts and cultural organizations that together we hope will represent more than 220 programs and projects, presentations, art exhibits, and the like for residents and tourists and visitors and convention goers and all of the rest that will have the ability to partake in the climate of the arts that it's presented here in Williamsburg. I want to start with a little slideshow. Some of these recommendations we are making, I'm going to just have some quick illustrations, but with support from the council and other sources of funding, for example, the Institute for Dance with stage performances and teaching dance and students and the like in the area. We recommend support for this organization. We recommend support which includes annual performances like this one. This is the showcase, and where dancers of all ages come together and they show off many of the things they have learned, many of the things that they're doing, and I think kind of makes an interesting kind of show. Do some other kinds of things as well, which are teaching in the schools and doing other kinds of concerts for the schools. Some of the other things we do, for example, the Open Door Concerts and the Tidewater Classical Guitar, both receive recommendations for support from us. Open Door Concerts presents 5 concerts per year in the downtown area of Williamsburg. An upcoming event, I think, features the Baltimore concert. I thought this was more than fun. Formed to feature the music of Shakespeare's time. We don't often think of that as a time where we're going to enjoy pop concerts. But this is energetic, toe-tapping music found in taverns and street corners and accompanying dances of the 16th and 17th century, but it's a lot of fun. And so we recommend that. As well, next to it is the at the Williamsburg Regional Library Auditorium, the Tidewater Classical Guitar will feature Duo Noir, which see in the dark background there. So American classical guitarists in a concert of genre-bending repertoire It's easy for you to say, I think. Performed with spectacular precision by this duet. We also recommend the Williamsburg Players, which presents a season meant to enrich the lives of our citizens. I'd like to mention here that talented community members are selected from open auditions. They rehearse, and then the curtain goes up on dramas, comedies, musicals, wonderful scenic sets and lighting, all designed and constructed and staged by community volunteers. None of this is professionally done. So depicted here in this slide, I think, is some interesting from last season, which was called Anyone Can Whistle, which is an early Sondheim musical. It doesn't often get produced, but here it was in wonderful downtown Williamsburg, and we recommend continuing support for the Players. 2 fully staged productions come each year from the Opera in Williamsburg, who contribute, and we recommending support for this as well. Dress rehearsals, I might add, are open and free, and especially designed to attract students in the area to come to these particular kinds of productions. Tales of Hoffman and Lucia Lallamore will be the 2 operas presented this year. We also recommend some support for opportunities for young people to do theatrical productions, music, concerts, and dance. Young Audiences of Virginia, Arts for Learning, builds performances based on themes such as resilience, kindness, and courage, and then presents them not only to the schools, but to audiences around the area and in auditoriums like the Williamsburg Regional Library. Likewise, the Virginia Ballet, the Regional Ballet, provides young dancers, performers, and dancers the opportunities to present 2 major ballet performances each year in collaboration with the Williamsburg Symphony Orchestra, who accompanies them, which is unusual for children's ballet. So this popular ballet gleans huge audiences, including family members of the youth selected to dance in the productions, of course, but they get more than that. So young education and performances are possibilities here, and we believe they also deserve our support. Larger institutions also come to play in this area because we have the Muscarell Museum and we have the Jamestown Yorktown Foundation, things that you would think could support themselves on their own. But they do special projects. So like examples of such are projects that include lecture series at the Muscarell Museum and presentations like the one illustrated here, which is celebrating African American heritage and culture at the Jamestown Yorktown Foundation. Those are special projects that also we're recommending support from the Williamsburg Commission. The Symphony Orchestra and the Youth Orchestra, of course, favorites here in this town. The orchestra and its youth counterpart, these 2 collaborating organizations both perform major concerts and cultivate music education in the area. WSO, of course, presents 5 masterwork concerts, and the Youth Orchestra presents 2 concerts of its own each year, and also provides all kinds of educational programming in the schools. These are just a few, I think, of the recommendations we're making. But we received 31 applications, and we're recommending 28 for support. Applications submitted requested $284,000, and we are recommending the budget as it was lined at $159,000. That means that we can't support all of them at the asking price, nor we support as many as have asked. But we do nonetheless think our recommendations are sound and based on keen deliberations. And before I go, let me suggest to you that if you're doing nothing on Thursday, which you shouldn't be, you should come here instead, because right here in this very room, we're going to present a forum. The commission does this every year. Last year we did one on building audiences. This year we're doing one that we hope will help these institutions to build board support and board development for nonprofit organizations so that they can help them in the future as they go forward to do many more projects in the arts. And that concludes my recommendations from the Commission on the Arts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phelps, and thank you to the board for all the hard work in making that recommendation. Questions? Takes us now to an occasion for the arts. Ms. Markowitz. Williams. Welcome.
Welcome. Good afternoon, city members. Thank you all so much for your continued support of An Occasion for the Arts through many years of COVID and weather. The biggest thing that we deal with as an outside show every year is having a show. So very fortunate that we can say that there were no hurricanes last year. So we were able to get outside and enjoy a show. So my name is Rachel Williams. I am the president of the Occasion for the Arts Board. I would like to introduce our executive director, Robin Markowitz, who will be talking a little bit about our plans for 2024, but I'll start us off in looking at what we did this past year. So this is kind of an overview, an Occasion for the Arts by the numbers for 2023. We had wonderful weather once we had a little burst of rain and spritz on that Saturday morning, but we had our Friday evening show and had beautiful weather for the weekend, had wonderful crowds, and we had a different footprint this year because we navigated on Sunday with Second Sunday artists. But we would like to say that our past year was a successful show. In looking at our artist recap from the past year, we continue as a juried art show to draw in a lot of talented artists over the years. We also like to celebrate our local artists, provide them an opportunity to showcase. We also had new artists, so 34% were new artists coming into the city of Williamsburg this year. And really what we're looking at is looking at price points where art is affordable for everyone. So there's a little something for everyone between our 130 artists that represent our show. This past year, we had 14 live performances, ranging from some of our community favorites, as well as musicians and dance groups, all ages, all sorts of community. Our normal footprint is a 28 artists, which we will plan to do for our 2024 show, but due to our shifting footprint to this year, we had a fewer live performances, but still very spirited and enthusiastic. One of the biggest things that we really have taken pride in the past few years is the expansion showcase of our youth art. So this past in 2023, we had over 1,000 pieces of art that were showcased by Williamsburg James City County schools, which we had 100% participation from the schools, along with representation from private schools and Upper York County. Really, parents are looking at an opportunity. This is the place for them to see when their children come up and say, yes, that's my art that I'm showcasing right in the city of Williamsburg for the weekend. There's so much energy and enlightenment in this space. So we really pride ourselves on working with our teachers and with having an opportunity to get in front of art and celebrate our up-and-coming children. Last year, our theme, working with all of our teachers, was on connections with our community. This past year, we continued to establish and work with Steve Prince, the Distinguished Artist in Residence and Director of Engagement with the Muscarelli Museum of Art. We have worked with him for the past 4 years, and we're able to, this year, Steve brought his communal quilt project to Occasion for the Arts. Through his work in a very busy area right in front of Talbot's and Merchant Square, we were able to double the size of his communal quilt for this year. He had so many children of all ages, families coming together and telling their story and having an opportunity to share that story through our community area. We also were pleased to continue our relationship and partnership with Williamsburg Contemporary Arts Center. So they also provide just another area for free, fun activities for kids just to help bring and bridge the gap for our area and making that a special place. From volunteers, really, I think a lot of nonprofits, you're seeing a challenge in trying to secure volunteers since COVID. It continues. We did still see kind of a challenge and overlap of recruiting volunteers from our area. We know that there are lots of people out there that really want to support and engage in our community. This past year, we had over 60 volunteers to help in everything from supporting our artist load-in, to setting up our youth art displays, to welcoming guests at our information booth, to running back and forth, to helping our beer and wine sales. So it's really critical that we have this community volunteer support. There are 17 of us that are board voting members of the board of directors, so we are all also expected to be there all weekend and run and work and put our comfy shoes on. So we, while we were pleased with how we were able to handle it this year, we certainly are looking to focus on really kind of engaging different volunteers throughout our community. One of the new things that we did in 2023 was an evening for the arts. This was our Friday night fundraising event to support our new Artists in Residence program. We had planned to have this event in 2022. However, with the cancellation of our show due to the weather condition, we had to cancel, but 75% of our tickets that were sold for that event were graciously donated to support the Artists in Residence program. So this year we brought it. We had, it was a very muggy day that Friday evening, about close to 80 degrees. And so Friday night we had a very fun and festive event. Good Shot Judy, of course, was our headliner. And as always, the conga line is always the last thing that comes out at the end of the night. What was fun was being in Merchant Square was that the William and Mary Club rowing team had taken a visit to the Baskin and Robbins afterwards, and they heard Good Shot Judy and went, oh my gosh, what is this? And they all came running. They all participated in the conga line that went all around the parking lot. And William and Mary students, being that they were, also helped us break down at the evening to said, how can we help? Let's help. And so, we were gracious for that. But we had 14 different local restaurants that catered, and we really feel like we had a fun evening. It was a nice way for providing a Friday night engagement for many of our artists that stayed open at their booths to enjoy and kind of get a sneak peek at what the art was to come. I am going to turn it over to Robin, who will talk about 2024.
We are very excited to go back to our original footprint, which allows us to have 154 great artists from around the country, 2 performance stages, our youth art tent, which is beautiful, you all have to come see it, and our community art on Prince George as well. This footprint is vibrant, and we're beyond happy that we get to go back to that. Okay, Artist in Residence program announcement. We have an Artist in Residence. We are so excited. Final submissions came in. We have a couple to choose from, and they are meeting tomorrow at the school with the teacher and John Rasky to go over the plans for the installation, and then we will make a final determination this week. The Artist in Residence program for this year is at James River Elementary School. It is to take a fairly desolate space that's outside the art room and create an art learning lab back there. So the entire school will participate, and depending on which artist proposal is selected, will determine how it will look. But the goal is that the children are, the STEAM program that they are engaging with is Virginia, flora, fauna, tributaries, wildlife, and the goal is to create a kind of an abstract mini ecosystem in the back of the school, and allowing the teacher to be able to utilize that space as well for other art projects and other learning opportunities. So we are beyond excited about this. This is wonderful. This is our evolution. Our evolution is to be able to bring art to the community more than once a year, to be able to have installations in all the public schools is our goal. To be able to include every student who wants to be part of an arts program, because when you get to high school, not every student wants to be, but those that do, we want to be able to include them. So our goal for AOFTA, one of the reasons that I was hired, is to be able to make sure that all the processes are in place to make this a ongoing event, and not necessarily only once a year in the school system, because as we move forward and we figure out what works in what school, the funding for that can come from many different places. And we do have sponsors like Bank of America, who's incredibly interested in helping us develop this program, because it ties right in to their work. They have a work scholarship, and the artists coming in, we might be able to get more funding for that. So this is a wonderful opportunity, we feel, for the entire community and for our organization. City funding, how do we use your city? How do we use the money from the city? We use every bit of it basically to go back to the city, to go back to the community. We have a marketing program with Consociate Media. Their funding is all hyper-local. All of the videos, photography, social media, ads, they're all within the community directly. We have been very fortunate in the last 2 years to get a VTC grant, and that grant is also being run through Consociate, because we don't have the ability to create those fabulous ads that they do, which are marketed to Richmond, Northern Virginia, and Hampton Roads. But we did find that they were effective, because last year was the first year we began to capture zip codes. And with the zip codes, we found that, and it was also Columbus Day weekend, was that we had a lot of people coming in from Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Northern Virginia. So, and when you ask, how did you hear about us? Well, they had seen these ads that had been created and placed on like YouTube channels, social channels. I'm not sure, I didn't see them all, but they're all fabulous. And if you do want more information about them, we do have a complete report that you obviously can have access to, that we had to give to VCT to get the grant money. We also, of course, work with the city police and EMS. That is a direct tie back to the city. And most importantly, this local economic impact is only from the artists. The hotel rooms, artists. Food and beverage, artists. Art sold, and these are numbers based on both the survey that we do have access to the hotel information, because we do blocks of rooms for artists, so we know how long they've stayed, and then the rentals from the local companies and this. So $360,000 is not bad for one weekend. We thank you for everything. We are looking forward to a fabulous year, and if you have any questions.
Well, thank you. We too are looking forward to a fabulous year, and glad you've got your dates set. Hopefully you got your application in to secure the footprint that you want to have, because it is a special event for all of us in the region, but particularly for those of us in Williamsburg. I do have a question regarding the art sales.
Yes.
I don't know that I've seen that number in the past. Is that a good year, or is that a down year? How have art sales trended over the year?
So it is a survey that's sent to the artists. We get about a 78% response rate, because I'm pushy. And we ask them how much their sales are. It's anonymous. I don't really care what you made, but we do want to know. So by trend, it was down this year. But we also went from 130 artists, where we normally have 154 artists. So that was a trend I had expected. What was really interesting, though, was that the upper range of that was a lot. Like, there were like 27 people who sold over $10,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, where in past years, the numbers have been a little bit lower. So we were pretty pleased, given that we had less artists this year.
It's obviously weather dependent, lots of things go into that.
And weather dependent and lots of other things, exactly.
Vice Mayor, anybody else?
Thank you very much.
I have a question. Thank you for the presentation, and I remember when AAFTA was just an art show. And so two questions. One, have you received feedback from the performers, from the artists, as to how they feel having the extra music performers and all of the other stuff impacts their sales? Because I would think that would create some extra work for your volunteers, logistics, arranging all of them, and just extra work, too.
Creates a lot of back-end logistics, but it doesn't affect the artists. So a couple of things that are fabulous about this property is that the music isn't impacting the artist sales, because obviously those beautiful brick buildings you can't really hear it.
I was just wondering if they thought having the music performers brought out more people and helped increase their sales, or would they think that people were sitting listening to the music as opposed to coming through the show and actually buying and spending money?
I don't think they think about it, the fine artists, very much, because if you've seen images of the show, it's packed. And so I think having that respite for the patrons is really important. We have found that there's a huge turnover back there, where they are sitting, they're listening to a group, they're relaxing for a minute, they're getting something to eat and drink, and then they move on. So I feel that it's really important for us, to showcase the local musical talent in the city, but I also think that having a place for the patrons to be able to go sit in some shade when it's really hot, get out of the rain when it's not that nice, is really important for the festival, to keep people, to have them go back and say, oh, I saw that. I want to go back and look at it. Our artists reapply. We have a 78% reapply rate every year. That is very high in this industry.
I would think so. And then one other question, because I know I'm taking up time and we've got a lot of other people. When you gave the city impact with the hotels and the rental agencies and all of that, are all of those businesses that were referenced there in the city?
Yes.
Okay.
So the hotel was from hotels that are in, most of them stay at a Best Western on York, because I have a huge block of rooms there, but a few of them stay at some of the other, I usually get a few other properties on Bypass, because they have the Hilton and the Hilton Gardens so I do a bunch
Richmond
of those
Road,
over
yeah.
there as well. So those are only artist hotel nights.
Okay.
And then the food number comes from a per diem, using the GAO per diem, and the amount of artists, their helpers, and our staff. So that number is based on that, because you have to eat when you're in town.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
the other numbers were direct rentals here in the city, including Williamsburg Event Rentals, the ICE, the Porter Johns, all of those are local businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both for coming up. All right, next we have a presentation from Child Development Resources. Mr. Scott, welcome, sir.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Paul Scott. I live at 719 Lafayette Street, but I'm here representing CDR tonight, and I think I am in charge of the clicker, so hopefully. I wanted to do a few things tonight. One, for members, people watching at home, and folks in the audience, and you all, to just give you an overview of CDR and its history. It was founded in James City County here in 1965, and our purpose is to inspire and empower children, families, and early childhood professionals to reach their full potential, whatever their challenges. And we go about doing that in a number of different ways. Mainly, we provide direct services to children and families, and we also train other early childhood professionals how to do the same. And you see here, we were founded as the Williamsburg Preschool for Special Children by a group of families whose children were not welcome in public school because they had delays and disabilities, and they just got together and decided to start their own school. And so from those humble beginnings, we served 5 children that year. We serve over 2,000 now annually. When Congress passed it was an Education for All Handicapped Children Act, there were a lot of places out there that didn't know how to do the work that CDR had already pioneered. We'd been through the minefield, so they reached out to us, and that launched our training mission, so we have a dual mission, and it's one of our most important projects. We, in 1998, were awarded Early Head Start Grant, which provides services to low-income families in Williamsburg, James City, York, and Poquoson, and that's our primary service area. We do have a few programs that allow us to stretch a bit beyond that. In the 2000s, CDR added some more programming to support local families, including parents as teachers, and we have a federally funded fatherhood program and a responsive motherhood program. And those two programs occasionally get together, and I'll share with you some of the interesting things that they do. We have a rookie moms and a rookie dads class. These are new and expectant parents. We want to make sure they're confident and comfortable in their roles, and they've decided to start calling the combined class that we have the mamas and the papas, so they get a lot of training in how to swaddle and do the things that they need to do to care for their babies. We are currently the state-wide grantee from the Virginia Department of Education to provide training and professional development to child care providers across the state of Virginia who work with infants and toddlers. And infant and toddler care, we just ran the figures on it, is averaging about $300 a week here in our communities. So really unaffordable, and families that need to know that the care that they're going to receive when they have out-of-home care is high quality. So I wanted to also highlight a few local benefits of services that we provide. I've already mentioned the 2,000 children we serve in the Historic Triangle. We are, as of today, working with 53 families here in the city of Williamsburg, and we serve 90 families, but we track that a little bit differently, so we haven't broken that down by locality. About 95% or more of our services happen inside family homes, and that's critical to see the child in their natural environment, but it also eliminates the barrier that transportation can create to so many families with limited means. And that's just part of what we do, and we're very committed to that. One of the other impacts for the community, particularly, is on the school system. So of the children that are referred to us for developmental delays and disabilities, these have been diagnosed and assessed and established, about half of those catch up to their typically developing peers. And what that means is they can return to school and be in regular education. That saves the school system from having to hire special education teachers and classroom aides and those kind of things, which can be costly, and it's, in this job market, it can be very difficult to staff those positions. We have a new two-generation model throughout the whole organization. We have a new program I'll share with you. And our work really does support local social services because we're in the home regularly and we've got eyeballs on the child. And one of the things we're focused on, along with social services departments, is the safety and well-being of that child. And our fatherhood program has been shown to increase fathers' confidence and comfort in their role. That tends to reduce child abuse, so we're really proud of their work. Our motherhood program has really expanded from a small grant to where it now provides lactation support and training. We have 2 internationally board-certified lactation consultants. We have infant massage training, which creates a bond, and the benefits for the baby are really strong. But the benefit to the mother and the parents, if the father participates, is that they have a tighter bond with the child's more at ease, they sleep better, they eat better, everything seems to go much better. And we recently were awarded a grant from Centera to pilot a 2-generation mental health project, which addresses the mental health needs of the adult caretakers, but also that of the young child. And that's going to involve some play therapy. And we started on that on February 1st. So we've already got quite a few referrals, and we're going to do our best to meet the demand that's presented there. So I'm also here tonight, I'm not here to ask for money, I just wanted to give you an update about programming, but also to let you know about a major project that we have underway and to let you know that in the future we may come forward with a request. The board provides support to our central point of entry, which is the phone number that any family in the community can call, but this is a slightly different focus, which is our project. So the first meetings that we had were in the community building at St. Martin's Episcopal Church, and after we had numerous moves throughout the community, Our first permanent home was established in Norge in 1994. That was a $2 million project and was supported by each locality and the state of Virginia. So I thought it was important to mention that there is some precedent for these types of requests. For that project, James City and York each put $75,000 toward the completion of the project. Williamsburg provided $60,000 and Poquoson provided $25,000. As we've grown, we're now in 6 different locations, really, when you include storage. We have 4 offices and 2 childcare centers. And we've not only outgrown our space, but we're obviously a bit disjointed. And we're also asked to vacate the Lafayette High School, the 900 building of Lafayette High School. There was the wrestling center, those of you that knew the building, and there was an automotive center right beside that. That auto center was unfunded, and it sat vacant and idle. So we secured federal funding to renovate that center, bring it up to code, and now I believe it's being used as a resource, a restorative center, I think is what the school's called. So CDR also has the ability to draw federal money into the community, which can have a multitude of benefits. So the opportunity I wanted to let you know about was, as we began to find a new location for our child care center that was located in the 900 building at Lafayette, we were informed that the Historic Triangle Community Services Building, it's on 312 Waller Mill Road, that may be available. So we found it interesting for a variety of reasons. It's uniquely located near the intersection of all the 3 main localities here. It's on a public transportation line, and it is central to where we serve. And that had a great deal of appeal to us. So in 2020, we determined that the facility could meet our needs after extensive renovation, came up with a plan, and got it priced. The challenge with that, COVID had just started, and the price of steel and labor and everything else went through the roof. So we had to take a break and reevaluate the design. And then what we determined was that we would get more dollars per square foot if we were to build in front of the property on that vacant grass, as opposed to building a 2-story lofted structure, which involved a lot of structural steel, and that became very expensive. So we are in the final stage of design. There's a few more permit processes that we need to go through with York County to be sure that the plans we present are going to be for stormwater management. It's an example. We want to make sure we fully accounted for the costs there. And we expect final cost estimates by the end of the month, and we're in the final phase of our leadership campaign. I've presented here the members of our steering committee. Obviously, we're proud to have Kathy Hornsby as our honorary chair, and some of the leaders in the community. You may recognize their names from other projects in the community and other nonprofits, and the wonderful work that they do. And this is what the site is envisioned to look like. The new square building out closest to Waller Mill Road, which is the gray strip on the right-hand side of the image, is sort of an offset square. That would be the addition that would be built. And you can see the new playground. Fortunately, York seems to be supportive of the parking as it is now, so we won't have to have that additional expense. And I also wanted to make sure to present this to you all because there's 2 implications for the city of Williamsburg, which owns a flag lot where those little brown boxes are. Those are the master gardeners. They have a teaching garden there, and that technically sits on City of Williamsburg property. So this property that we're considering renovating borders that, and there's the flag lot that you all own goes back into the woods. And we've worked with the city and their staff, and also our board, to ensure that what the exchange would be to save us some funds in renovating the stormwater management facility, which is sort of off-site here. There would be potentially an exchange so that we would allow egress through the parking lot so that you all had easier access to your property to maintain the drain in Waller Mill. So we're really excited about having all of our child care center located together, all of our staff together, all of our programming in one space, and create a family resource center for the community, which it desperately needs. And this is another rendering of what the building would look like. And I think the architect has to be given some credit to make, for those of you that have seen this building, my son saw it and he said, wow, it looks like somebody was building a pyramid and they just stopped, because the roof goes up and it just sort of stops. I think the architect did do a nice job of making this new addition appear to be part of the original design, so it seems to fit well in that space. This is the drop-off for families that would be dropping off children to enter the child care center. And this would be an example of the central room. The heart of the building is going to be the children's room. You may notice the bright lights in the ceiling. Those would be solar tubes. I noticed that there's a lot of natural light accounted for here in this building. If you've ever been in that building, you know what a challenge that is. So the architect thought that we could draw that light straight down into the space, and it gives you the same feeling as natural light, and we're very happy for that. There's an observation room in the center, and we'll be able to use this in the morning for our developmental play group, in the afternoon for our gross motor play for the children in early Head Start, and then we've got a lot of ideas about how to share this space with the community on weekends and in different times. And this is one of the early Head Start classrooms and what it would look like. Again, a lot of natural light and more light allowed to come in through the windows. The playground, as it sits outside, would get an overhaul, obviously, and a brand new playground put outside. That's basically a nature play area, and it's going to focus on children. You've heard comments before about children can learn and they can interact, and we've got the Master Gardeners excited about helping us with some of these plantings and the maintenance to make sure that the kids have a very wonderful environment for them to play and learn. So I don't have the exact figures that some others have had, but again, our vision for this is to establish a family resource center and really draw in volunteers and families and staff. It will be very easy to access because it's on a public route. And we're very excited about our expanding relationship with the College of William & Mary, trying to draw in more of their students. It's hard for us to get the students to go all the way to Norge and some of our other sites. This is literally right up the road. We will have a large meeting space central to the building, and we plan to make that available for other agencies that need to have meetings for mental health, social services in the public schools, and our free clinics if they want to come and work with our families with little ones. We have a vibrant training program that I mentioned before. It's funded at $5 million a year to provide training across the state, and we hold a lot of those trainings here in the Williamsburg community. So we draw people in and they stay in hotels overnight. We have about 100 employees now scattered all across the area, and we're really excited to have them all in one location, which would be a lot closer to the city of Williamsburg if it were established here at 312 Waller Mill. Open space in the front and the back for community events and future expansion, which was important to us. And we're really excited to start our project to work with young children that have some severe behaviors. I'm sure you'll hear from the public schools that they're starting to see a pretty rapid increase in the how fluorescent some of the behavior can be that they're seeing at very young ages. So that was it. I just wanted to be here and give you an update about our programs and this major project that's coming up. Thank you for all your support of CDR over the years. I brought copies of the annual reports. If you didn't get these at home, if it's okay if I leave these with the clerk, and then
Please do.
you get a chance to review those. So any questions, I'm happy to take.
Well, thank you, Mr. Scott, and appreciate all that you do for CDR and the community, and then certainly the other 99 employees that work with you to help families grow together healthy and stronger. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, next update is from Colonial Behavioral Health, Mr. Coe. If you come up to the podium and take about 5-10 minutes. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity and for the privilege to be able to present to you all today. I appear to be the only one who did not come with PowerPoint slides.
We won't hold it against you.
Well, you might, because this means you got nobody to look at but me for the next few minutes, and that gets worse over time. So, again, I want to begin by thanking the City of Williamsburg for long-standing and diligent support. January 5th marked our 53rd year, and we've been with the City of Williamsburg the entire time. And you all have been fantastic partners, and we are very grateful for that. We will not go back through the long litany of services that we provide, but I will tell you that we are your Community Services Board. Every community in Virginia has what they call a CSB. By Code of Virginia, every community must have one, and we are yours. We are the door, the single point of access in state code, the single point of access in this community into the publicly funded mental health system, mental health and developmental disability system. And we do offer, I'm not going to do the great list an array of services, whether they be outpatient, some residential day services, psychiatric services, crisis services, through the lifespan. Our early childhood services are CDR, and I will give them kudos that if we were to go across the state and look for someone to provide that in our community, I already know we would pick them above anybody else in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We do represent a system of services that you hear about a lot in the news, and you've been hearing about for the last several years. And in fact, as recently as the last gubernatorial election, our Virginia's publicly funded system was referred to as broken. And a very wise leader in Richmond several years back took that term broken and redefined it. And the term was that the system is not broken, the system is incomplete. It's just never been finished. And so that the cracks that have been seen in it and cracks that do appear in it are not because people aren't working, people aren't trying, it's because there's simply not enough ingredients to fill the pie. You can cut it in different ways, and every time you fill in a gap, you create another one somewhere else. I would say that Virginia is making more moves in the last couple of years to try to remedy that system and remedy that problem than in the entire 34 years that I've been working in the CSB system combined. I will give great credit for that. Irregardless of party, irregardless of orientation, of progressive, liberal, conservative, some in between, independent, makes no difference. The fact is that this administration right now is making a real concerted effort. And so that presents, it aligns with some of the goals that Colonial Behavioral Health has had for a long, long time. Some going back as far as 2007, when I first stepped into this position in this community. And many things seem to be aligning, and we're telling our staff, our board is recognizing that in 2025, we're not going to look like we do in 2024. And so I wanted to highlight some of those areas for you. If I were David Letterman, I would call this our top 10 list. But as I'm sitting here, I think I'm at 11, and I could keep going, but for time's sake, we will keep it at 10. We have been pursuing now for some time a federal designation of a type of a community mental health agency referred to as a CCBHC, a Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. It is a federal designation that looks a lot like, you can hear from Aaron and Old Town here in just a few minutes. I know they're pursuing federally qualified health center status. A CCBHC is the photo negative. I'm dating myself by referring to photo negatives and not digital images. But lots of behavioral health, a little bit of primary care. Just the photo negative of the other. We have been looking for that. We've been pursuing federal dollars. We are going to continue to pursue federal dollars to really provide a different level of funding for our base operations that will allow us to expand more readily in the future. We have been pursuing now for some time, since 2007. Surplus property located at Eastern State Hospital. That again is not new, but I would say that recent developments are making us feel more confident that that could happen in the not too distant future. We cannot comment on that much. We are still very much in negotiation with the state and with others. We don't have any details that are even nailed down for us, much less being able to share those. But I would thank the city, because when this effort first came forward a few years ago, all of our localities have supported that effort to receive that land. But the city of Williamsburg was the first to include it in your legislative program. You were the first. You haven't been the only, but you were the first, and you set the tone for that. So we thank you for that. We are currently, along that same line, with that effort, looking to consolidate most of our current office space onto the one campus, something similar to what CDR is talking about doing, really creating that primary center for all of our services to be combined. What we would not necessarily be moving would be our developmental services day program called Opportunities Unlimited. For other reasons, we would need to find another location for them, but we are looking for new space for them as well. New and improved space that will allow us to modernize the program. We have received funding, and we are finalizing our training that in 2024, we fully expect to begin providing permanent supportive housing opportunities for individuals in our community with serious mental illness. We're working with the city and the county right now, and York County as well, to lay the groundwork for us to be able to start doing that. We are working in partnership right now with Old Town Medical and Dental Center toward integrating primary care and behavioral health services. We're very much collegial in working how we're going to do that. We haven't figured out how we're going to do all of that yet, but I think we have committed to working through that process to make it happen, to have one place that individuals can come to get those things, to get all of those services together, reducing stigma, which is a big issue, reducing stigma for all of us. As part of the Governor's Right Help Right Now project, you may have seen a press release coming from the governor's office in December. In fact, December 8th, it was announced that Colonial Behavioral Health will be developing a crisis receiving center. That we're receiving funding for that. And they said it would be located near Eastern State Hospital. That is still the only written communication we have about that from the state, was that press release. The same thing you've seen, we have. But the conversations are going on. We don't have anything to share at this point, but we have every reason to believe that we will be this year developing a crisis receiving center, which would allow individuals to come to that center without having to be brought by law enforcement, without having necessarily to access expensive other services, and if they need stabilization, could stay there up to 23 hours. To be stabilized, sent back home, sent to whatever level of care they might need. It is not one that could allow somebody to stay in like a residential setting for multiple days. But along with that, in our communications with the state, it's been made clear that if we are provided the opportunity to build a crisis receiving center, we are also going to be, second phase of that, developing what's called a crisis stabilization unit, which is a residential option, 2 to 10 days in that ballpark, for those who do need overnight stays and need a little bit longer period of time for stabilization. In the realm of crisis services, we are expecting to begin to provide mobile crisis services, mobile crisis response in our community sometime in fiscal year 2025. We're hoping early FY25, but to be able to respond to crises in people's homes, where they are. Not necessarily they have to come out to go anywhere to have a crisis resolved, but not only go to their home, go to their place, wherever they are, to help meet that crisis, but connect with them for 72 hours to help make sure that we transition to the next level, put a plan in place to try to assure not having that necessarily repeat itself. But in that period of time, if they need a more intensive level of care, we'll work with our community to make that happen. You've been briefed about Marcus Alert. The Marcus Alert is slated for our community to begin, I believe it's in July of 25, FY26. We're working with all of our localities, our law enforcement, our PSAPs, dispatch and so on, to put those protocols together. And so the partnership and the conversations have been very good with that, but we're coordinating that effort for the community as well. And a little bit further down the road, a couple of years down the road, we're currently right now laying the groundwork to begin providing something we did a long time ago, providing supported employment services for individuals with developmental disabilities and with serious mental illness to really help get back out into the workforce. Subsidized employment, you might call it, but teaching those employment skills so that folks aren't necessarily having just to stay at home and do nothing, but to get very involved. I would make this 10A. We're also supporting, we're proud to be able to support and be the fiscal agent for the Historic Triangle Drug Prevention Coalition as well. Very proud of that work. They're doing great work. We're just happy to support them in any way that we possibly can. That's a lot to lay on you in just a few minutes, but I wanted to give you just a thumbnail sketch of the work that we're doing to support our citizens and how we're looking to put your contributions to work for us and for the communities. And for that, I thank you and I think I'm ready to take questions.
Well, I don't have any questions, but certainly just my acknowledgement of all the work that you all do in the community, and certainly applaud you for your efforts to look for the new space and hope that the governor's smoke signals that you're seeing come to fruition, because I think that would be a great opportunity for you all to consolidate some of your efforts there. And then, again, working with the Old Town Medical Group, I think is a fabulous opportunity for the folks that you see, and just integrating the healthcare that both of you all provide, however that works out. So I know that you're having that conversation,
Yes.
and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions for me? No.
Mr. Coe?
Thank you.
Next, but not last and least, or it is last but not least, is Aaron Thompson, Old Town Medical Center. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity. On behalf of our board, under the direction of Christopher James, I bring greetings. Plenty of very familiar faces. I do need to acknowledge former board member Wendy Evans, current board member Chief Snyder, who actually presented the opportunity for me to address you all. So, Mayor Pons, Vice Mayor Dent, I have heard about you for a year and a half from our in-house LCSW, Mr. Jonathan Weiss, our former board member. Congrats, Council Member Kern Shearer, Member Ramsey, our current board member, Mr. Rogers. Pleasure to all, and City Manager Andy Trevette. Good to see everyone. I am here to update what's going on at Old Town, introduce to some everything that has occurred in the just about 4 years that I have been the Chief Executive Director of Old Town. My name is Aaron Thompson. It is a pleasure to be here, and brevity is what I will try to focus on with you all. I'm not necessarily going to talk about the past, the present, and the future. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, and I'm going to make an ask. Now, in general, Old Town fills a void here in the city of Williamsburg, James City County, and York County. Today, we are focused on one jurisdiction, the most important jurisdiction, the city of Williamsburg. Old Town just recently celebrated 30 years of existence. We had our 30th anniversary gala. We're trying to catch up to the 53 years with CBH. I was actually in attendance at their celebration. And at Old Town, a lot has happened and transpired in those 30 years. Our mission is to ensure access to quality health and wellness care to the residents and workforce of the greater Williamsburg community. And for that, I wake up every day, I drive down from Henrico, and I try to adhere to that mission. My son actually attended Norwich, Toano, and graduated from War Hill. He is a second semester junior at George Mason, so kudos to the Patriots. And I know Williamsburg all too well. Spent a lot of time at WISC and a lot of money. I drove past Old Town for 7 years and did not know that Old Town was in the Human Services building. And that is the challenge that I am up against on a daily basis. 31 years, just about, and individuals are still surprised that there is a safety net facility in the city of Williamsburg. Now, we have a staff that comes to work each and every day. They have for 30 years. Our clinic director, nurse practitioner Kendra Robinson, is our longest serving employee at 22 years and 10 months, and she serves as the secondary face of Old Town. Old Town closed for 10 days, March 13th through March 23rd in 2020. The reason that they were only closed 10 days was so that we could stand up telemedicine, because as everyone in this room is well aware, a whole new paradigm shift occurred. And so we wanted to make sure that from a telemedicine standpoint, Old Town could fill that void. Now, at Old Town, we see the uninsured, the underinsured. We see those that are Medicare, Medicaid. We provide a sliding scale for individuals who might need that resource. We stand by the fact that no one has ever turned away because of a need or the necessity to not be able to pay. Now, I don't call Old Town a free clinic, because Old Town is not a free clinic. But Old Town is going to make sure that Riverside and Centera are not primary care facilities in their emergency rooms. And so that is why we have built a robust engine for social media. Michelle Williams, Susan Dunn, our new development and grants coordinator, Tanya Sabb, are pounding the pavement to make sure that individuals know that Old Town is there to provide service. Quick synopsis of the almost 31 years. So, July 6, 1993, the doors of Old Town open right where they are in the Human Services building. We share that building with Barbara Watson's staff in social services. And that relationship has evolved, and we work hand in hand to provide services, because we can't be next door to one another and not have synergies. And so for about 2.5 years, prior to 93, there was a study that was done. Mr. Tony Conyers, the late Ann Bradstreet Smith, Judy Knudsen, Kelly Hasty, Dr. Camilla Buchanan were part of the core team that said that there needed to be health care for those underserved who did not have care. And so here we are 31 years later. No longer do people have to go to a health department that was 30 miles away. They're right here in the city of Williamsburg off Old Town Road, and we are now filling that gap. Some of the services that are provided. Not only do we have the medical clinic, medical facility, we also have a dental facility under the direction of our dental director, Dr. Lorenzo Modeste. And so, with that being said, we treat at Old Town our 5 nurse practitioners, everyone from pediatrics to geriatrics. Our volunteer-based is slowly but surely ramping back up. And so now we have cardiologists, we have urologists, we work closely with Colonial Behavioral Health, we work closely with Bacon Street, we work closely with House of Mercy and Liz Buckley, we are working exceptionally close with Lackey. We meet with our safety net provider entities once a month to make sure that everyone is on the same page and rowing in the right direction. And so 2 things occurred over the last few years. January of 2019, Medicaid, state of Virginia, was passed. That opened up a wealth of opportunity for patient population. July 1st, 2021, adult Medicaid for dental passed. And so with that being the case, we are the only provider of dental care for the Medicaid population within an hour radius. And what that has done is it's given people pride back. Dr. Modeste takes pictures of individuals who might have prosthetics done, and they now have upper and lowers. We do before and afters, and it literally is a difference in quality of life for these patients. What we are trying to work through now is the waiting list that has been going on for the better part of a few years. And so not only do we have that, we have Dr. Lankowski, who serves as our gynecologic specialist. She is a clinical savant. My predecessor, Dr. Bill Mann, is actually coming to the facility for the next couple months to assist while Dr. Lankowski is actually out. And those that know Dr. Mann, he and I have a very, very cordial and close relationship. He'll walk into my office, even if the door's closed, he's not gonna knock, and we're just gonna discuss what's going on and how he can be a better partner. And so I give a lot of credit to him in his 7.74 years at the helm of Old Town, and we look to continue to make sure that entities like the James City Lions Club, who provide an optometry suite for Old Town, we can literally make glasses on site for people whose prescription is nowhere near mine, and they're not progressives, but when you walk into Old Town twice a month, individuals come in, thanks to the generosity of City of Williamsburg and the jurisdictional funds that you all provide to make sure that all of the resources that our patients benefit from on a daily basis are taken care of. And so from a demographic background, you see 68 and 32%. City of Williamsburg, just below 1,400 patients annually. Next year, we anticipate that number getting up to about 1,800 patients. And then in FY26, we're looking to get to about 2,100 patients. Our demographics has changed tremendously. Williamsburg is a very, very transient as far as part-time worker base. And so I have our outreach individuals going to Busch Gardens and Target and Walmart and those places where patients may not know that Old Town exists. And I'm going to leave you with the introduction that Mr. Cole gave as we work to better synergize and be more efficient in providing integrated care. We are in the beginning stages of that process. We are looking to make sure that individuals have not only the mental health resources, but the primary care resources as well. And so with that, we continue to plug along. Our MAP department provides medications. Education is forever a go-to with Old Town Medical and Dental. And I close, open up to any questions that you all may have.
Thought about changing the locks on your door. Well, thank you, Mr. Rogers, for Mr. Thompson, for coming in. You know, the work that you all do at Old Town is impressive, and it's extremely needed in our community. And you know, just looking at the percentage of city residents there, that a lot of folks depend on you and have for the last 30-plus years. And I'm sure they will into the future. And as I said to Mr. Coe, I really appreciate you all working together to integrate that level of care to be able to take somebody from a mental health issue to a dental issue. I think is extremely important. And then even working on the billing of all that, there's so much opportunity there for you all to work together so that you both can provide the level of service that our community needs. And so thank you for that.
Thank you all for your support. You all were there in the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Okay. Takes us now to City Council communication. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? No. Okay. Takes us now to open forum, which again is an opportunity for anybody to come forward and speak to council. Seeing none, I'll close that open forum, and I don't believe we have closed session today. No? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mayor Pons?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Kernshire?
Aye.
Thank you.